The hall smells like sweat and smoke. Torches spit fire against gold-plated walls. Giants laugh, deep and cruel, their voices grinding like stones. At the center stands a bride in white linen, veil drawn low, jewels heavy on his throat. The bride is 7 feet tall. His hands could crush skulls. Under the silk, muscles twitch like caged animals. His jaw tightens. His eyes burn. Mjolnir is missing. And the manliest god in existence, Thor, breaker of mountains, drinker of oceans, stands dressed as a woman. Not for comedy, for war. Across the hall, the giant Thrym grins, drunk on victory. He thinks he has won. He thinks he has stolen more than a hammer. He believes he has unmanned the god of thunder, but the bride's appetite is wrong. She devours an entire ox, 8 salmon, 3 casks of mead. Her laughter rumbles like distant storms. The veil trembles. The giants whisper, "Something is wrong with the bride." And tonight we unravel why the strongest god alive chose humiliation over pride, and why this wasn't a joke. It was a warning.
Unveil the legends.
Before the dress, before the laughter, there was silence. Thor woke to an empty space at his side. No hammer. Number. Thunder. Mjolnir wasn't just a weapon. It was order. It was fear. It was the line between gods and chaos. Without it, the sky felt thin. Odin wasn't a wise old father. He was a strategist who smelled weakness like blood and water. Freyja wasn't just beauty. She was pride wrapped in silk. Loki wasn't a trickster for fun. He was insecurity, with a smile. And the giants, they were patient. For years they watched Thor crush skulls and shatter mountains. They saw his temper, his arrogance, his certainty that brute force solved everything. So they waited. Peace was a lie. The 9 realms balanced on intimidation. The hammer kept frost and fire at bay. Remove it, and the world tilts. When Thor realizes it's gone, his rage cracks the earth. But rage can't find what it can't. See, Loki flies in falcon form across cold skies, feathers cutting wind, searching the edges of Jotunheim. And there, in a fortress carved from ice and bone, sits Thrym, smiling. He doesn't want gold. He doesn't want land. He wants Freyja, the goddess, in exchange for the hammer. The insult is surgical, not just theft, humiliation. When they tell Freyja, she explodes. Her necklace, Risingamen, snaps from her neck as she roars. The sound shakes Asgard. She will not be traded like cattle. She will not marry a giant. The gods gather. They panic. Without Mjolnir, every giant smells weakness. Every enemy sharpens. Blades. Loki watches Thor pace like a chained wolf. Muscles tight. Breath violent. There's only one solution. Thor must go in Freyja's place. The rune falls silent. The idea is obscene. Thor, who mocks softness. Thor, who measures worth in broken bones. Thor, who solves problems with impact in a dress. Thor wants to kill whoever suggested it, but Odin doesn't argue, because Odin knows something Thor doesn't. Power isn't always loud. Thor agrees, not because he finds it funny, because he understands extinction. They bind his hair in braids, press linen against his skin, hang heavy jewels on his neck. The weight isn't physical, it's psychological. Every clasp feels like surrender. Loki dresses as a bridesmaid. Of course he does. They ride to Jotunheim. The air smells of frost and old blood. Wells howl from distant cliffs. Giants gather, hungry for spectacle. Thrym greets his bride with greedy eyes. The feast begins. Thor eats like a starving animal. He forgets himself, devours everything. Bones snap between his teeth. Thrym blinks. I have never seen a bride eat so much. Loki smiles quickly. She hasn't eaten for 8 nights. She longed for you. The lie slides across the table. But then Thrym leans in for a kiss. He lifts the veil and sees fire, not shyness, not softness. Lightning coiled behind human eyes. He recoils. Why are her eyes so fierce? Loki enters again. She hasn't slept for 8 nights. She longed for you. Thrym laughs, uncertain. Then he makes his final mistake. He orders Mjolnir brought out to bless the marriage. The hammer enters the hall. The air changes. Thor feels it before he sees it. The pull, the gravity, the return of something sacred. They place it in bride's lap. The veil falls, and the hall learns what humiliation looks like when it turns into slaughter. Thor grabs Mjolnir. The first strike caves in Thrym's skull. Blood paints the wedding table. The second strike shatters pillars. The third turns laughter into screams. There is no mercy, no elegance, no forgiveness. The bride becomes a storm. When the dust settles, giants lie broken across their own. Celebration. Thor stands over them, dress soaked red, not laughing, breathing, alive. But here's where the story gets uncomfortable. We tell it like a punchline. The tough guy in a dress. A cosmic prank. What if it wasn't? What if this myth isn't about humiliation at all? Thor didn't weaken when he wore silk. He adapted. The giants believed masculinity meant rigidity, pride, refusal to bend. They weaponized that belief. They assumed Thor would rather let the world burn than appear soft. And for a moment that was true. Thor almost refused. His ego nearly cost everything. This myth survives because it slices deeper than comedy. It asks a brutal question. What is strength? Is it muscle? Or is it survival? Thor's greatest victory didn't come from swinging first. It came from enduring ridicule, from weaponizing expectation, from stepping into something that terrified him, not physically, but socially. In Viking culture, masculinity was sacred. Honor was oxygen. To appear feminine could mean social death. Thor risked that, not for pride, for preservation. And maybe that's the darker layer. The god of thunder wasn't invincible because he was strong. He was invincible because he could swallow his identity when the world demanded it. That's not comedy. That's evolution. And it mirrors something primal in us. The fear of being seen as weak, the terror of losing status, the instinct to defend ego over survival. Thor chose survival. Most people don't. Thor returns to Asgard with the hammer. The sky thickens again with thunder. Enemies retreat. Order restores itself. Outwardly, nothing changes, but something did. The god who measured himself in force discovered something sharper, flexibility. The irony burns. The giants tried to emasculate him. Instead, they exposed their own weakness. They believed strength meant one shape. Thor proved it had many. Yet this story lingers because we still laugh at it. We still mock the image of power, dressed in softness. We still confuse costume with identity, and we still cling to pride even when it poisons us. Thor didn't lose himself in that dress. He weaponized it. The world survived because he did. That's why this myth refuses to die. It whispers a dangerous truth. The strongest thing in the room is often the one willing to look foolish. Strength without adaptability is just a delayed extinction. So here's the question. If your survival demanded you step into something that shattered your image, would you? Or would you let everything burn to protect your pride? Because the gods of the North didn't just fear giants. They feared prophecy. They feared the end. And next time we step into a story where a god knew exactly how he would die and still walked toward it.